Well, hello everyone, and welcome back. I feel that we've been away for 11 billion years. It's been 2 or 3 weeks for one reason or another. It is lovely to see you all here today, and what better way to kind of kickstart what feels like we should be calling season two with the lovely Marcia. Um, we were talking before we came on air, weren't we, about the fact that it feels like we've known each other for years, and yet we
Yes.
only connected at HR Big Meet last year.
Last May, yeah.
Last
May,
May.
yeah. Last May was the first time, yes. Which I just find absolutely bizarre. Bear in mind the circles that we move, and we kind of move in the same circle. How we didn't. Anyway, it happened eventually. The universe came together and brought us together.
I'm so glad it did, and I'm so pleased to have you here today.
Thank you. Pleased
And
to be.
I remember when I first met you, and just your story, your vibe, I was like, oh, here's a girl who's going to go far. Rather than me gush and talk about ages about you, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone?
Okay, thank you very much. So, Marcia Spears, I am Chief Executive Bubbologist, and I will tell you what bubology and what a bubbologist is as we go along today in our live. I'm now co-founder. It's very new for me saying that, co-founder of Cognatio Lab. And I've co-founded that with my husband, and I've written a post about it. So if you go back through my LinkedIn, you can see there's a post about us about working together. But we are very newly launched. And if I think back to when it all kind of became a concept for us, Cognatio Lab, it wasn't Cognatio Lab initially. We were called Conubia. Very different name. But we wanted to look for something that was Latin to do with relationships. So that was our initial name. And if I think back to when we started to think about working together, we've been together 33 years. And over the years, sporadically, we've kind of laughed and said, what would happen if we worked together? And they've never spoken about it again. But lockdown, I think, changed things for us. I think when you have one person who's working from home, the other person traditionally goes out to the office every day, and then you're suddenly together in a space. It's about how we and our relationship, how we had to reconnect, recontract about how we are together, and our communication had to be really clear. So when we're together and we're working in the same space, this is how we're going to operate. When we're finished working, this is what it looks like. So it'll be whether it's closing the laptop or closing the office door, but all of those things we had to sit down and communicate. And at that point, we started to talk about we should really come together and do something. This is going to be mega to do. So we thought about Conubia. Set the name, company's house, all set up, did nothing. Got married in the meantime, kept talking about it every now and again. And then 23, we spoke about it again, didn't like the name Conubia, came up with Cognatio. And then we wanted the lab as well. So Cognatio is still about relationships, but we wanted the lab to talk about and be very clear about everything we do for our clients is bespoke. And when I speak to my clients, I point them to my bookshelf and I say, look, there's no cookie cutter things here. There's nothing I'm going to take off the shelf and give you. Everything we do is bespoke and we create it in our lab. So that was the name. Last year, I went away on a solo holiday. We were having our house decorated. Husband stayed here. I decided to go away. And in my notebook, I was scribbling away what kind of ideas, what I thought could be a concept and where I thought it could go. And I shared it with you on my return, and that was the start of it. That was the start of it. And that was last June after I met you at the HR Big Meet and your green trousers, which I spoke about as well this week in my post. And here we are today, launched, acquiring clients as well. It's going well. We have a very unique view of how we see organizations. So we talk a lot about bubbles and bubology and being bubbologists, and we think the key to organizations moving forward, because the world of work is changing.
Yeah.
How we operate is changing. And it's really important that the differentiator for organizations is the relationships they have and how they come together, how they can call out when things aren't quite right,
Yeah.
They can recontract with each other. So it's all the things that we learned during lockdown that brought us closer together. Um, in the world of work as well, where you're going to have less people for whatever reason, whether it's just financial reasons or whether AI starts to take over some roles, how are organisations going to cope going forward with those lesser amount of people? It's going to be a massive change for them. And I really believe, I strongly believe in how those bubbles come together, especially the key bubbles in the workplace, will be the make or break of organisations. And also, it will make and break in terms of the war on talent. People will stay with organisations or join organisations because they know that they're working in something that means something. And that connectedness that they work with people is more than, oh, we go for a drink on a Friday. It's about, we have this situation we need to deal with. We all know, I know, into individual roles. We know who's going to be a key player here, a key player over there, because we've spoken about it and we've contracted for it to work as well. So that was a lot of, I get very excited talking about my bodies.
And I think that's what I love. You know, it is your energy, it's your vibe about it. You are very different in your approach. You know, you're not talking about the, I don't know, just some of the stale, you know, keyword phrases we hear. You know, and I'm just about to use one, having said that, right? But this whole thing about impact and making a difference and really meaning it is where I think what you both have created is so different, because you're not bashing anyone and saying you're doing it all wrong. You're calling it. The world is changing. You don't know where to go.
Yes.
Let us help create your bubble.
Yes.
There's something quite safe about feeling that you're in some kind of lab environment to be able to try something, to test something, to then move it on.
Yes.
What was the final moment, if you like, when you kind of felt, do you know what? I am just not gonna do this anymore or do it for anyone else. What was that threshold where you were just like, no, I can do it so much better for my clients on my terms?
I think over the years as I've been consulting, whether it's a headcount reduction in an organisation or going in after a headcount reduction, so I've done both of those pieces several times over the years. And what's always missed in that is the relationships afterwards. So in 2020, I program managed a massive headcount reduction program. There's 1,000 people put at risk of redundancy.
Wow.
It was huge. My scope of work was to deliver that, get the paperwork tied up, and give it to them. There was nothing about how are these new teams going to form together? How are they working? You've just merged two organisations. You've gone through a massive redundancy program. What happens next? So that was the point when I started to think about it. I also joined an organisation to be an interim executive director just after they'd been through a massive redundancy program. And the HR leadership team, who should have been very cohesive to help the organisation and the rest of the HR team to go through that, they were in pieces. Nobody picks up that piece about the relationships and what happens afterwards. It's just, you've gone through a redundancy program, off you go. New role, off you go. And I think that for me has been more and more prevalent over the years. Every contract I've worked in has been some form of change or transformation. And for me, that's the gap. We don't think about it. We really don't think about it. What is that culture that we now have? Can the leadership call out that culture? Because there's nothing wrong with saying, this is how we do things. Call it out. It's fine. It's fine. But there isn't that thought process or that discussion at all anywhere.
I'd like to take you back to that former client that you talked about. Big changes, wrap it up, you know, tie it in a bow and hand it back to us. What happened after you left and walked away?
After I left, so I know now, because I've spoken to a few people recently, the leadership broke up.
Wow.
The
Is that surprising?
Not surprising at all. They made another acquisition. So they didn't even settle into their new structure. They made another acquisition, tried to layer on top, leadership went, and it wasn't a great place. Now, some people I know are still working there, and they've got new leadership in who are trying to build, but they had an opportunity. There was a crucial point where they had the opportunity to do something to bring people together in different groups, and they just didn't do it.
Such a shame, isn't it?
It really is a shame. It really is a shame. And I wish I knew then what I know now, because even at the time I kept thinking, I kept asking the CRO, who's my client, but when they go into their new teams, what's happening? But I didn't push it enough to say, this is what I think, because I guess for me, that's my scope of work, and you say it's fine and they'll be okay, and here you go, right? But I wish I had pushed it more, pushed that agenda more in terms of people are going to be working in a very different way here. If you look at one team in particular, how do you think they're going to operate? I wish I had pushed that agenda a bit more. That's a wonderful thing, right, Sam? So
It's, you know, and it's fast forward to where we're at today, right? And with everything changing so quickly and continuing to change quickly, actually, really, has there been any let up in our work lives? You know, I think I think we are a unique generation
yes.
in that we have seen such change, and for us, I think we're more accepting of change because it's just always been this way. We've always had, you know, when I started work, and so many kids today just wouldn't understand this, telex, fax, right? I mean,
Now you're giving away your age and mine as well at the same time, might I add.
maybe we should move on from that. I don't tell anyone. But you know, there is that. So I don't think this is anything new. I think the era we're going into is.
Yes, absolutely.
And we can go round and round on a merry-go-round and pretend that, not pretend, and be scared about this, or we can go round and come off the merry-go-round and go, okay, I'm going to take this bit of it and this bit of it, and this is how I'm going to make a difference and an impact in the world. And I suspect that those are the kind of leaders that you are after.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I think there are leaders out there who can see that there's something different that needs to happen, but they just don't quite know what that different is. And this is where we come in, and this is where we're using the bubbles as the metaphor to, because it's something that people relate to. So people understand bubbles from COVID time, right? And they understand they have their own bubbles. But us explaining the bubbles is not just the ecosystem, but the third component that happens in relationships, whether it's between people or within teams. I think that would be the click for them. So that's why we're trying to get that message about bubbles and us being bubbolologists to support them to identify those bubbles out there. So I think once they understand that concept, they'll grab hold of it.
Exactly. And for anyone who's listening today and is curious, what kind of projects and conversations are you having right now in terms of an organization saying, to your point earlier, we know either something's not right or we know we want to make change, but they just don't know how to do it? What are those kind of, as I say, conversations you're having, and what are some of the aha moments you're seeing right now?
I think for me, there's a variety of clients I'm talking to at the moment. So I'm working with an organisation who are about to restructure their HR team. HR team has been a challenge for a few years now, not just internally, but how they face out to their customers as well. They want to break how it's operating at the moment, and they recognise that those relationships that they have, not just amongst themselves, but outside of that team as well, are going to be crucial for their success. This is their make or break moment as a team. And I think the aha moment for them was a key member of their team left recently, and suddenly things have started to open up a bit more, and the rest of the team is starting to flourish a bit more. So how can we grab onto that now and nourish that bubble even more and more and more, and create new bubbles outside of just their own bubble as well? So that's one client I'm working with. Another client was looking for organizational review, has a sense that something isn't quite right. It's not quite ticking over. Arranged a session with his whole team, so an all-hands session, where he wanted them to tell him what was going on. I just HR head tilt when he told me. How do you think that's going to go?
Did you notice the actual? I can't do a poker face, but
From what I understand, it did not go that well. So there needs to be another way that he finds out the information, and this is part of the work that we do in terms of the systems coaching and the culture analysis and how we blend the two of those together to get to the nub of what's really going on in the organisation. It's more than just having a conversation and a few questions or a questionnaire for people.
yeah,
It's actually watching them, how they operate, whether it's via email, whether it's in meetings, whether it's just in the tea room, whatever it is. It's just watching how they operate to see whether things could be slightly better. And it's not me saying, go away and this is what you need to do.
yeah,
It's me just giving my observations and then working with the leader to say, and what do you think could be better? And working with the team as well to ask what could be better. Because for me, the most important bubbles aren't the exec team. The most important bubbles are in the middle somewhere.
I love that.
They're the crucial piece there that bubble along and they keep it all together and they kind of shape and form everything else that goes on around it.
Yeah.
Really, really important. So that's a couple of examples of clients that I'm working with. Another client that I'm working with as well, he is going in as a new CEO, knows that his exec team is not where it should be, knows he needs to make changes, knows that the relationships that they currently have within that exec team are not right. So he's talking to me about relationships, but doesn't know where to take it from here. And that's where we were coming with our solutions as well. So yeah, there's some good conversations happening at the moment.
I love that. And I just like just to acknowledge a couple of things. Georgina, great question. Do you think they'd have listened even if you pushed more, going back to our previous conversation?
Ooh. I think at that point of time, no. They were on a trajectory of just want to change. They were already talking about the next acquisition. So they've already acquired the company earlier in that year. They've gone through the headcount reduction. They were looking at the next acquisition. They weren't at that point, which is a shame. I think if they were in a different space, potentially they might have listened. Interestingly, one of their leaders who was with them at that point, I'm talking to at the moment, and is very clear about relationships. So there's been some growth and there's been some changing, which is positive to see.
Love that. Yeah, and I also agree with Sam. Very interesting approach, which is why I was so excited about today. Marcia, when you look at where your client base is and your hopes and dreams and ambitions, is this something that you are currently just working in the UK, or are there other markets that you're now working with?
That's a fine question, Sam. Fine question. So I think for the UK, this is where we're based. This is where our current clients are. And I think with the UK in particular, and we won't talk too much about politics. In fact, we won't talk about politics at all. So I would like, through this statement I'm about to make, we are in a period of decline.
Yeah.
There's going to be cost challenges with all organisations, and everyone's going to have to operate with a smaller headcount, but also try and push again for growth out the other side. So that's where we see ourselves coming in to support with that. But we're also looking at, and it's, for us, it's really good to have balance as well. So not just working with that kind of decline, but also something exciting. And we're looking to work with Saudi Arabian organisations. So Saudi Arabia have their Vision 2030, which is, I can't tell you how many Saudis I've spoken to, and they are all aligned with it.
I love that.
Everyone is aligned with it. They understand the importance of their 2030 vision. They all understand where they're going. They all understand their part in it. It's incredible. God willing, we have that for the UK as well at some point. But it's incredible to see that. So we want to be part of that excitement. We want to be part of that growth and support them as they build and move forward. So yeah, Saudi Arabia is another area that we're looking at. And actually, we're not just concentrating there, we're probably looking across the whole of the GCC as well. But Saudi Arabia is our first port of call.
For those who, because I didn't know as much about it until, we started to have a lot of conversations about it. For those who are listening and thinking, tell me more, why is the 2030 vision so exciting in Saudi Arabia? Because it really is.
It really is. I think for Saudi Arabia, they've recognized that they want to be a key player on the world stage. Now, To an extent, they are at the moment because of their oil reserves. But they also recognise that will run out at some point. So they're trying to move into different areas so that when the oil does start to decrease, they have other aspects that they're working on. So whether it's the NEOM project that they're working on at the moment, so futuristic cities, a big thing for them is youth and women. 60%, I think, of their population are under 25, so that's a big thing for them. Women in business is a huge push that they're looking at the moment because they know that the perception outside of Saudi Arabia is that women are downtrodden. So I've spoken to a lot of women leaders in Saudi Arabia, and whilst maybe some of the older generation have a mindset, the younger generation coming through who have been educated outside of the GCC have a very, very different view, and they want to promote equality and diversity within their country. So Saudi Arabia is up and coming. It's changing all the time. I can't tell you countless amount of people who said, I know somebody who worked there 20 years ago and you're going to have to wear a burqa and you're not going to be able to talk. Listen, it's changing. They want bigger and better things. And I think anything that we can do to support that, we're there for it.
I love it. I love it. Marcia, what's the dream?
The dream from a business perspective is that we are one of the #1 business people and culture business transformation consultancies in the UK and Saudi Arabia and possibly other geographies. Let's see how we get on. That's where we want to build to. We have a 10-year plan. Listen, none of us are getting any younger. So we have a plan of where we want to be in 10 years' time, but we want to be a leading name in that area. We're more than a HR consultancy. What we do is quite unique, and we think we have a lot to offer organisations.
Oh, totally. And in fact, in time, dare I say it, will you need to even use the word HR consultancy because it's so much more, I think the philosophy, because I've seen the strategy, I've seen the models, it's so different. It is so different. And you're creating bubbles, not labels. And that's, I think, the thing that is refreshing.
Yes.
It is not encouraging an individual to hide behind, well, I'm sorry, I can't do that because I'm a blue.
No, not at all. Not at all. We're not using, listen, there's a place for those in
and I agree, and I exaggerate for effect.
But it's not what sits with us. It really is about those bubbles and understanding the third entity and component that sits within those bubbles, being able to identify it, being able to call it out, being able to, as a team, say, I don't like how this is operating, and being able to talk about it and come up with a new way. And I wrote an article recently about holacracy. I think this is a future model for organisations. It's worked well. A couple of organisations have tried it. So places like Medium and Zappos, it hasn't gone fantastically. But I think they tried to do too much too quickly and didn't bring in the systems piece to work with those bubbles that they had to make it more effective. But I certainly think that is a future model. And yeah, I just think it's the way forward. It really is the way forward.
Yeah. So many questions. When you're looking at the next 12 to 18 months and you've got business leaders who are, let's look, two different business leaders, business leader in the UK and then a business leader in Saudi. Yes. For a business leader in the UK who is thinking about, you raised up an interesting point beyond our current joyous political landscape and the impact it's having in such a bad way on businesses across the country. For those who are trying to navigate through that and come out the other end, if they're looking at the other end now, what are the key things for them to be thinking about before they start to engage with you? Just some nuggets that will just help inspire them and get them thinking.
I think the key thing for them to think about is when they look at their structure post whatever they're going to do, and then also align that with the growth that they know that need to take. So they will have both of those pieces. They will know that. I would ask them to just match the two together. Just spend some time matching the two together and have a think about how are you going to achieve that with less people. There's people who are currently in your teams. They're going to be operating in a very different way. It's going to be very strange for them. The natural thing to say is we've got less people, we can't do as much, but we're going to have to. So how are you going to make that work for them? How are you going to make sure that you keep on top of their well-being as well? Because it's easy to say, right, you just have to do double work. That's not the reality, right? So I would ask them to match the two together. The HR teams that they have in place at the moment, and I mean, this is a whole nother subject, Sam, about how HR operates. HR as a function. Listen, I've been in HR for many, many years. We are going to have to change how we operate. We've been at a crossroads for a very long time, Sam. In fact, I think we've been at the same crossroads. We just keep going down the track and then coming back to the same crossroads for years now. We play a crucial role in that relationship piece. In terms of the identifying, in terms of the supporting, you then layer on AI as well. We play a crucial role. Now, there's a place in every organization, Sam, for whether it's have you done your HR audit or have you done a contract? It doesn't sit in HR. It's completely break it up. So I think there's a few things that need to be looked at. I could rant about HR. What rant? I could philosophize about HR. Let's call it that instead. For a very long time, but yeah, HR has to. This is now the point that HR has to change how it is before it is changed for them. Have a voice in how HR is going to operate going forward, rather than it being done to. It's important.
And that's really interesting you should say that. I had a really fascinating conversation with a very senior CHRO last night. And something she said really resonated with me, which was she had held a board level position with organizations going through significant change, scary numbers in terms of employees and budget and company growth, right? In terms of the revenue, telephone numbers. The one thing her CEO said to her was, don't come to me every month and talk about HR. Come with facts, come with an opinion, and come to be prepared to be challenged, and come to challenge. And, you know, she was someone who delighted in something like that. And I delighted in that too, because actually how refreshing. It was someone who's recognizing the commercial aspect of why HR is so important.
Absolutely.
And was kind of saying, come talk about the business side of things, come with an opinion, come share the facts, and let's all move on together. And I said, you know, how did that go? She said it was tough every month and it was great fun.
Because it's exciting, but it's new territory for everyone in HR, having to think in a different way. I think this is part of the frustration for me with HR, and I left CRPD back in 2018.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I don't think they've done enough for HR in terms of this thinking.
No.
We've always spoken about having a seat at the table, and I've said this many times, Sam, and I will keep banging the drum about it. The table's there. Go and sit down and start talking.
Yeah.
No one's stopping you.
No one other than yourself. Naomi, I agree. Yes, show up with solutions and have those solutions challenges. Perfect. Love it.
Yes.
And I agree with that. And I again, must not veer off. I frequently get disappointed when I attend events and I see how far ahead our consultancy world is, our fractional HR world is. Yeah. Those of us who are constantly out there challenging and changing,
Yes.
is it any wonder? I personally am really pleased that the world of work is going towards more consultancy on a fractional basis.
Me too. It's needed.
One, I think it's needed, but look at how much knowledge there is to share and go around and to create and bring on that challenge of,
Absolutely.
do you know what? There's another way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, Sam, HR being more strategic, absolutely.
Yes,
And I think that's what we're now seeing, which again is why organizations like yours are so innovative and creative, and why more and more companies want it, because they know they want the change.
Yes.
They're fed up with hearing about people who talk about wanting the change and they don't know, either one, they don't know how to, or two, actually they're pretty comfortable where they are.
Agreed. Completely agreed. Leaders don't want to hear from HR at the monthly business review. Well, you've had these many absences and these many people attend training. So it's all good metrics, right? But that's not why they're there. That's not what they want to hear from HR. And I had a conversation with somebody the other week about it being easier for a consultant or a fractional HR to be able to reveal and tell the truth to an organisation than the incumbent HR. And we
Very true.
work out why that was the case, because you have senior HR people who are brought in because they're that conscience, they're that voice, but yet at some point, because they build a relationship with the exec, they clam up. And that's why the external support is needed, in my opinion.
Totally. And Naomi, I agree. We need to position ourselves as a bridge between business and people strategically and commercially. Yes. And I think it is, be comfortable to be challenged. Absolutely, Ian. It's an exciting time to be alive in HR, particularly this side of the fence.
Yes.
And for the last 20 years, I've been saying to in-house CHROs, we are here because we can say it. You want to say it, but for some reason, we're the ones who, we're saying the same things. We're just getting paid to say it.
Yes.
That was then. I think now that there is clear water between the consultancy space and the in-house space.
Yes.
That evolution is happening now.
Yes.
And it is here now.
Yes, it is.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I can't keep up with this. Fear is a driver of comfort. It's my opinion. Fear of what's next and what's to come. It's so pertinent to your work. It's about relationships.
It is about relationships. It really is. It really is. And I think as a consultant over the years, and this is partly why I went into consultancy, is that I was given, let me just think on this, Sam. Was I given? No. I took the opportunity of being able to say to my clients, that's nonsense, that doesn't work, that's not going to work going forward. Whereas I couldn't do that previously, because you're part of this political machine, and if you say that, then you might be ostracized to one side, or your face won't fit anymore. As a consultant, you've brought me in for my expertise, and part of my expertise is going to be telling you as it is. I'm not rude with you, but I will give it to you between the eyes.
Yeah, exactly. And it's that, I don't know, maybe that I'm sure that there's a very human aspect to this that needs to be researched and looked into more.
Yes.
I'm going to go back to my question before I took us on a very healthy ranty tangent, which I'm very glad we did. I feel cleansed now. Which was, let's look at a UK CEO. Now let's look at a Saudi CEO. Looking to go through a very different kind of change.
Yes.
It feels a much more positive change, and maybe we are slightly jaded. I mean, talking here, I've still got to, say some of my Sky News tickers going on, and apparently we've seen the biggest tumble in our stock market since the day of the pandemic. So very different for a Saudi CEO going through a very different change.
Yes.
What are the kind of things for them to consider ahead of reaching out and connecting with you?
So the big things in Saudi, and one place where Saudis are probably further ahead, everything they do is based on relationships. So they've really got that concept of relationships there. But a big thing for them is the war on talent. It's more than, and I was speaking to a CHRO out there, and it's more than we're going to offer this salary with this bonus, with this sign-on bonus, for example, or these financial benefits, because they can go and get that anywhere. They're a cash-rich country, right? They can go and get that anywhere in any organisation. But for them, it's more about, how do I feel when I'm working? Do I see where I am part of that cog? Am I working with like-minded people? If I don't like something, can I tell somebody about it? That is the crucial piece for them. And that's our bread and butter, and that's what we do. That's where we support organisations. So
I love that.
any leaders that are growing at the moment and are seeing that they're finding challenges with trying to retain and or attract people, come and talk to us. We can.
I love it. And Naomi, keep them coming. Sorry, me again. I feel HR shouldn't be in house. It should be outsourced.
Oh, Naomi.
You know our views on that, Naomi. Just saying.
I mean, unpopular opinion, but I completely agree with you, Naomi. I think to be able to give that clarity, to be quite upfront with what's needed in an organisation, to be able to have a lens where you can look at something objectively as well and feedback, it should be outsourced, is my view.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And, you know, we're obviously seeing more of that happen. Is it painful? Of course it is.
Yes,
Is it change? Yes, of course it is. And what's always painful? Change.
yes.
And you're right, out of that, how is an evolution of relationships, how those relationships connect, interact, and go out there and get the results together.
Absolutely, absolutely. The thing is, if we can get ahead of the change and be in control of the change and have a plan for the change, that's an easier way to manage it rather than it being imposed on and having to suddenly run hard to try and catch up with where you need to be. That's a harder position to be in. So I would encourage every leader to think about, what does your team look like now? What does it look like in a year's time? And that gap. If you work backwards, what's needed to get you to that point where you have an aspiration to be? Actually,
Yeah, I love that. It's, you know, and we talked about it on the mastermind, which was that future back thinking, and how, you know, if we can take some of the philosophies from the East where they plan significantly out, and even if we don't quite understand it yet, the impact that, say, technology, the political landscape, another will have is so important. And I often go through this, and I went through a scary exercise, and it's the first time I've spoken about this, probably about a week ago. And I sat there and I said, what if HR is dead? Because I keep giving these talks with these headlines. What if it is? Then what? And it wasn't from a fit of pique. It wasn't from anything had gone wrong. It was a real, just sit with it. What does that mean? Why would that happen? And my next question was, what is that evolution?
HR's not dead. HR's nowhere near dead.
Absolutely. And
Strange.
it is now. And again, when I remember I did a talk in Minneapolis last year, the year before, all escapes me. But the focus, the hook was, you know, HR is dead. But actually, the context under that was, it's bigger than it's ever been before. It is great we can let go of some of the red tape stuff now to be able to focus on helping these organizations reestablish, pivot, and work with wherever that evolution goes and whatever that looks like. And I think that's more than ever a very individual journey.
It is.
And it's not just about sectors or countries or company size. It is individual to that company.
Yes, I fully agree. Fully agree. But it's a journey that they need to go on. And my only hope, Sam, is that HR is part of that conversation. Senior HR people are part of that conversation to say, look, or they're proactive and go to their CEO to say, how we've done HR previously is not how we need to do it going forward. This is what I see as my remit as HR. In terms of my team, HR admin, I see going over in that section. It might be legal, for example, or it might go to risk and compliance. Recruitment will go over to business development. Learning development might go somewhere else. But this is what I see as my core area in HR. It's around the relationship pieces, and it's around the future of work and how AI is going to support the organisation going forward. That's my view. How powerful is it if a CHRO goes to their CEO and says, look, we need to tear this up and change this. I've already thought about it. This is how I think it's going to operate. This is what it's going to give you. This is your return on investment.
I mean, just wouldn't that just be fabulous?
You're partway there because you're talking the right terminology and you're thinking about the future. That's what CEOs want.
Oh, absolutely. And there are some great CHROs who are doing that. There are also some great CHROs who are being brought in to do that. Yeah, I agree, Sam. You know, HR is not dead, far from it. The challenge and one of the most frustrating parts is that so many companies still don't know the true role of HR and how best to partner with HR. It's constant education and advocating for our profession. Sam, I absolutely agree with you. And I also think another point is how we connect and communicate with businesses, which is, you know, we are a commercial partner to them. We facilitate and execute part of their business plan based on our expertise.
Yes.
And again, Sam, I know you do that well. Naomi, you do that well. Ian, you are smashing it. And I know we had a chat about that in terms of the, you know, the different sectors and who you're looking at. And Marcia, you know my view on you. You're absolutely doing it. And Ian, yeah, great comment. No one I know in-house feels valued. A new model, a new understanding of HR's worth is needed. And sadly, HR is not good at reinventing itself.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It absolutely is not. And that, I think that's the saddest for me, is that we can't invoke change for ourselves. I think my high dream when we came out of lockdown, because you know we were seen as the superstars, is that we didn't capitalize on that and we didn't come together as a function to say, right, what's now for us?
Yeah.
How do we face that now and say, right, you had a rebirth and this is what we look like? We didn't do it, and this is where I come back to the crossroad. We keep tottering down the road and then coming back to that crossroad and looking lost, and we have to stop that.
Yeah.
Now is the time to do it, I think, or we're just going to lose it again.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, I think what will be lost is, you know, the poor in-house souls, so to speak. Well, not so to speak, the in-house souls. Those of us who are on the outside and actually enjoying our freedom,
Yes.
the ability to be able to replace and exceed our corporate income,
Yes.
is great. Is it hard work? Oh my days.
Yes, it absolutely is.
Be under no illusion this will break you in every possible way.
Yes.
It takes time, graft, guts, consistency, resilience, sheer boredom, frustration, and boy, the rewards are so worth it.
Yes. When you crack it, it's like a next level of a game. You unlock the next level. It's completely different. And you'll wonder why you didn't do it sooner.
Yeah, exactly.
It's exciting.
Exactly, Sam. Exactly, Ian. That was the topic of keynote which Charlotte and I did at HR conference, how to be strategic and get buy-in. So, Marcia, this is a part of the show that I had some very important questions for you. Are you ready?
I think so.
Okay. Favorite cheese, please?
Oh, see, now I love Spanish cold cuts, so manchego cheese would be my favorite.
Oh, good choice.
Right?
Good choice. Feel a little bit of a zip to Sainsbury's coming on now.
Go for it. I have some in the fridge. I'm ready. I'll send some across to you.
Thanks. Okay, so in the last year, what film or television program have you watched that you generally feel you'll never get those those hours or moments of your life back again?
It's a film I've seen this year, actually. I took myself out on a self date. I thought I'm going to go and see Nicole Kidman in Baby Girl, because that looks quite interesting. Well, no. I have never. I think my overriding thought is, Nicole Kidman, can you please stop getting your bits out and doing naughty things on screen? Enough now. So that'd be my worst film.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't go and see it, Sam. It's
No. You have definitely put me off that film. So thank you for giving me probably a few hours of my life back. Appreciate that. That was a public service announcement from Marcia, I feel. Okay, so happier times now, Marcia. You and the Hubster are going on holiday. It is obviously the law to take a flotation device with you. What flotation device would you take with you and why?
See, right, okay. Let me take the glasses off for this, Sam, because
you've got serious.
This is big. This is big, this one. And I wouldn't take it with me. I would expect it to be delivered to my resort, because it couldn't be delivered. Okay, here we go. So it'll be a pink lilo. On the top, it will be plush velvet pink. Don't worry about getting wet. It's been scotch guard to death, so it'll be fine.
Amazing.
On one side, it will have a cup holder. On the other side, it will have a built-in remote control. And one of the buttons, it will bring up a canopy, because as much as I love the sun, I love the heat, sometimes you just need a little bit of shade. So it'll bring up a canopy.
Yeah.
So in pink. And the other button will be the call button to the bar to say, get ready to make my next drink, please. And as I press that button, it would slowly move me to the side of the pool, so that the barman can just pop it into my cup holder, and then I go back out again. That
So
would be
it's motorized as well.
Oh, yeah.
Marcia, I feel I need to give you an award.
Thank you.
Or possibly the best flotation.
Now, this is a call out to anybody on the call. If anybody can make this, or know somebody that can make this, I'll be a very happy lady. Yeah, mate, let me know.
You're about to make a fortune.
I mean, what a piece of kit would that be? Incredible.
What is not to like about that?
Oh, I forgot. There needs to be a little thing, that comes up, so I can put my Kindle on it as well. I forgot that piece.
I love that.
Yeah.
I also feel I might add a fan. Just
oh, yes.
A fan to that.
Yes, we could add a fan to that, because there'll be electronics in it as well. Yeah. Thanks, Sam.
This is just great. What about speakers?
No. That's fine. I'm quite happy with the lapping of the wall, so that's fine. Enough for me. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Ian, yeah,
Ian, it's just come into my mind, to be honest with you.
Have a think about yours for when you come on the show, Ian.
Yes.
And yeah, I feel sorry for anyone that I asked that question to next week.
It can only develop from here, right? We just have, the most amazing things now.
Amazing. I feel that we need to have an innovation hub within the business club and create some of these flotation devices, and maybe start a different side gig. Oh my God. Now you've got me thinking.
See?
Up there for thinking.
Uh-huh.
I'll leave the rest alone.
Uh-huh.
So, Marcia, you have been a valuable and just such a sheer delight of a member in both the mastermind in the last cohort and the business club. And you can see how just a popularity through the comments, and everyone's a clubber on the call. So it's been fabulous. If anyone's kind of thinking about dipping their toe into the business club, and they want to know what it's like, what's your experience of the club and what's it given you?
I think if I had to be concise with it and give a kind of overarching, for me, it's been all the aha moments. It's been the, I think this could be an idea, and then suddenly your brain opens up and it goes in a different direction, but it's such a fantastic journey that you go in that you get to that direction. That for me, if you're looking for that, if you have an idea, if you think, I'm not sure if this will work or not, come along. Because that idea will have legs. And because you've got a thought there, that's the starting point for you. Just open up your brain and run with it. And yeah, that's what it will give you. I highly encourage.
Marcia, thank you. So you shared such value with everyone today, and I'm sure that either people listening today or who are watching the recording afterwards, because it is going to go out on YouTube and across all the podcast channels. Mm-hmm. How does someone get in touch with you if they like what they hear and they want you to change their organizations and bring about that change?
So you can either DM me on LinkedIn. You can contact us on our website. So we're at www.cognatio-lab.com. My email address is marcia@cognatio-lab.co.uk. Probably best to DM me on LinkedIn or go to our website and you can see everything that we do. Read about some of our work as well. And yeah, there's a contact form.
Perfect. Marcia, as ever, just such a delight. And, that flotation device, I'm sorry, it's just, yeah.
Incredible.
I'm going to be on, just thinking about that flotation device now is just, I'm going to talk to my husband about it this evening. What is going on? Okay. Any last words or anything you'd like to share?
I think my last words are to, I guess, two separate messages to organisations in the UK. We can't hide from it. Change is coming in whatever guise it is, whether it's retracting our headcount, changing the ways that we operate. AI is coming in as well. These are all aspects that are going to change us, and there's going to be more changes that come down the road as well. So please start thinking about what a new world could look like for you, and just come and contact us. We can support. We can get you to that point. We can get your team to that point as well, and help you to identify the crucial bubbles and get them up and running and nourishing and working well. And I think for anybody within Saudi Arabia, as you're growing, and I know that relationships are already a big thing for you, but how can Cognatio Lab support you with that war for talent and get you up and running and get the best people working with you and retaining that best talent as well? So yeah, that's my final thoughts, my final words. Just come and talk to us.
Wonderful. Well, Marcia, thank you so much. I'm going to go off now and just buy a new flotation device and talk to my husband about how we're engineering it. I've got a whole load of engineers around me, so I'm sure we'll figure it out.
Perfect.
So from Marcia and me, thank you so much for being
Thank you so much,
such a
Sam.
great
Thank you.
group of listeners.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. It's bye from me. Bye from Marcia. Cue
Bye.
the music.